Welcome to Health Hour, a session for you by Black doctors, hosted by the Caribbean and African Health Network. Ever sat in a doctor's office thinking, they just don't get it? Or search for health advice online, but you can't understand it? Felt unheard? You're not alone, and you found your solution with Health Hour. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., this is your space where Caribbean and African healthcare professionals speak about health with a focus on Black people. We tackle the topics that keep you up at night: mental health, chronic conditions, preventive care, sexual health, men's health, women's health, heart disease, and much more. All with the cultural context that matters, because our Black doctors understand the unique challenges we face. Here is what you can expect: real talk from doctors who look like you and get it, lived experience testimonies, practical advice, illness prevention and management tips, and a space of understanding without judgment. You also get to ask questions. Your questions drive the conversation. Health Hour, where community meets Black health expertise.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Health Hour. You have to excuse me a bit. I'm a bit bunged up, so I might not be as clear as I usually am. But this week, we've got Dr. Joe telling us about sleep time not being screen time. So this is something that's a bit new to all of us, but it's something that we have to grasp and contend with, because it's becoming an increasingly important part of our lives. Just a few facts: 70% of people globally today own a smartphone, and today there are more smartphone subscriptions than there are people on this planet. In 2023, the average person across the world spent 3.49 hours per day on their mobile phone, and that is set to increase. Now, it's we cannot deny that this will have some impact on our lives. And if it is going to do so, then I think we need to put ourselves in a position of control. We need to put ourselves in that position where we can adapt this experience to suit ourselves best. Now, Dr. Joe Omofuna is a GP partner, he's a father, he's a pastor, and he's a mental health advocate. So I'm sure that in his work and in his daily life, he comes across the effects of mobile phone overusage, malusage, whatever you may want to call it. And I think that puts him in a prime position to tell us about how we best use our mobile phones. This talk is brought to you by Khan Health Hour. It's been going for perhaps the last 5 years, since COVID, and every weekend we come together to discuss topics of mutual benefit, health topics. Please communicate with us as the talk goes through, using the chat feature, and we are always interested to know where you are joining us from. We are always trying to expand our global reach. So welcome again and enjoy. Let's discuss this together. Over to you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. I'm glad to be able to join you again from sunny Manchester. Just please let us know where you're connecting from, whether within Manchester, outside the UK, or within the UK, and we shall crack on. Okay. I have a very interesting topic. Well, I think it's interesting anyway. topic to share with you today, and we're going to be looking at all things relating to the effects of how excessive screen time affects our sleep quality. It's always a privilege to connect with you via this method and to sort of help out with educating the community. It's something that we do with a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure. And so as usual, I'll speak for only 20 minutes and then we'll have, or 25, and then we'll have a bit of question and answer. Personally, I think Michael should introduce me every single time. I like the way you introduced me there. So maybe we'll have to record that and carry with me wherever I go. As always, there's a disclaimer, I'm not being paid by any drug company or anybody else. When I give health talks, I have to say that. In addition, we are only giving a very, very brief overview of these topics because we're only doing this at a community level. And so I'm assuming I'm not speaking to professionals. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So let's delve into this. And so like I said, I'm a mental health, I have special interest. I'm a GP with special interest in mental health. So everything I'm going to be doing is linking it with mental health, in particular with regards to sleep. So quality sleep, this is just for us to remind ourselves, supports brain functions like memory consolidations, emotional regulation, whereas poor sleep increases the risk of anxiety, depression, stress. It stops us from being able to manage our emotions and copes with difficulties. When you start having issues with poor concentration, agitation, irritation, sometimes it's not necessarily your mother-in-law, it's just maybe you've not had a very good sleep. And so these are some of the things that can happen. In children and young adults, quality sleep is an essential part of their growth. And there's a lot of studies that have showed that it not only affects their mental development, but can actually lead to physical stunted growth. There's a lovely paper many years ago by Guilford et al. From the National Library of Medicine that talks about this. Everything that we say here is backed by evidence. We practice what we call evidence-based medicine. And so feel free to ask questions, curiosities, but we do try to keep it straight to the books. I'm not going to be giving you personal opinions. And if I do, I'll let you know. So what is the impact of why is sleep important? Why is sleep so important? Why are we talking about sleep? One of the things that we find, especially in the Afro-Caribbean community, is the fact that many times we are often plagued by the need to settle down. You're doing immigration, you're running around trying to chase immigration, you're trying to get your kids settled in school. And so somewhere along the line, one of the things that suffers for a lot of people is poor sleep. There was a young gentleman that I came across several years ago. He was actually from Kenya, and he had done night shifts back to back for nearly 10 days. Eventually, he slept off on a train, and he slept off, forgot his destination, and collapsed because he had not slept for well over a week properly. So sleep is really important, and especially in the immigrant population, we find that we sometimes compromise sleep for other things. We try to, not knowing that in itself is putting us at risk. But today we're going to be specifically looking at the flashing screens. And I like the introduction talking about mobile phones, but it's not just mobile phones. The young ones and even the middle-aged ones, they do gaming, all these flashing images and things like that. They stimulate the brain. Computer screens, staring at the computer screen all the time. Why is sleep important? There is an increased risk of mental health issues, like I already stated. Chronic lack of sleep is linked with a higher risk of mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and psychosis. Also, there is impaired emotional control, your ability to regulate your emotions, feeling stressed. When you start lashing out at people, like I said before, when you're more irritable, when your emotions are all over the place. The one time you're angry, the next time you're calm. You need to check and see whether it's possible. It's one of the questions we often ask. That leads me very nicely to, we'll talk about how much sleep is enough at some point. Heightened negative emotions, poor sleep can make you feel less positive, and intensify negative feelings. Also, physical health. There's a lot of research now that sleep deprivation negatively impacts your physical health, which in turn impacts your mental health. As a matter of fact, there's a paper that came out about 3 years ago now, nearly 2.5 years ago. It shows that, this was a paper for men. It shows that men who take a nap twice a week, just twice a week, sleep in the afternoon, are 70% less likely to have a heart attack compared to the average population. Just 2 or 3 naps a week will make you 70% less likely to have a heart attack. Another fun fact, the fact that women have been shown to need more sleep than men. And I'm saying this quietly so that my wife doesn't hear, because she likes to sleep a lot and she often wonders how I can survive on just a few hours of sleep. So there's a lot of things we can say about sleep. Sleep is essential. Sleep is really important. And it's not just about the length of the sleep, it's about the quality of sleep. Because someone asked a question the last time I was on here, how much sleep is good enough sleep? And all the experts are now saying it's not about the length, which we had been told before, get 8 hours of sleep. It's more about the quality of sleep. And I don't want to go into that, but the quality of sleep is perhaps a lot more important than the actual length of sleep. So some of us, for example, I, for one, can survive on 5 or 6 hours of sleep every night, and I have no issues whatsoever, and I'm perfectly healthy. Whereas some people, if they don't sleep 8 hours, then they've not even started. And so there's that range. It's about how well have you slept. Some people will sleep 9 hours and you don't feel rested. You need to get checked out. You need to make sure that you go and look into that and find out why that is the case, because that is not normal. All right. So sleep is essential. Sleep helps us to regulate ourselves, helps us to repair our bodies. Lots of things like heart attacks, hypertension, are linked. Even obesity are now linked to poor sleep, poor quality of sleep. So this is really, really important. What does screen time do to us? What does excessive screen time exposure do to us? Because I'm taking this, like I said, at a very, very simple level, just breaking it down. Blue light exposure, because all screens, whether your mobile phone, your computer, your gaming apparatus, all of them emit blue light. And this is something that's meant to catch your attention and stimulate your brain. That's the whole idea. All of them emit blue light, all right? So it's really important for us to understand that. And what this blue light does is, in the simplest form, it disrupts our sleep-wake cycle if you overexpose yourself to it. All devices do that. So one of the ways in which it does that is by suppressing melatonin production. Melatonin is that little chemical that your brain produces that makes you feel sleepy. All right, that little thing that just is produced by the brain that makes you feel, you know what, I need to go to sleep. Now, when you now have a device or devices that are blocking the secretion of this melatonin, then you're going to have a problem with getting quality sleep. In addition to that, when you're overstimulated yourself with blue light, you then have an issue where the light can effectively trick our brains, like you can see in the MRI scan, not exactly what it's showing there, but in the scans on the screen there, our brains are made to react. They're made of neurons, and they're electrical signals. So what this blue light does, it tricks the brain into thinking that it's daytime. And so the brain is awake and alive and ready to function. Now, when the brain is active and firing on all cylinders, there's no way that you are going to be able to get sleep, because it then delays the ability to go into sleep. So these things, that's what blue light exposure does. And when we talk about sleep hygiene, we'll be talking about how, we can sort of mitigate for this. Also, there's increased mental stimulation, like I mentioned before, increased mental awareness, because it's a natural reaction. Your brain wants to react to the fact that there's light in front of it. And so it gets awake and gets more ready to do more stuff. In addition to that, due to excessive engagement, some of us are very obsessed with Instagram and Facebook and Reddit and TikTok and Snapchat. All that time you're spending is actually delaying your bedtime routine for some people. I have a patient, a young Caucasian lady, 20 years old. And it turned out that her mental illness, which she was suffering with, affecting her studies, affecting her relationships at home. She was snapping at everybody. She was not having a good time with her boyfriend. And I just asked, I was very fortunate to ask the right questions, because sometimes if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right answers. I asked her the right answer. I found out that she doesn't sleep until 2 a.m. every single day. What are you doing? She's on the phone. She's checking this out. She's checking that out. And so till 2 a.m., and unfortunately for her, she's on phone till 2 a.m. Then she has to get up by 7:38 to go and function in her normal day-to-day things. Once we corrected that, once we got her to 11 o'clock, shut down all devices. That was for her. I'm not saying 11 o'clock is the perfect time, but shut down all devices. Her mental health issues were greatly diminished. I'm just using that as an example. I like giving active cases so that we can identify with some of these things, because sometimes as health professionals, when people come to us, it's almost like playing Sherlock Holmes. Most people think that they have such a complex problem that nobody can solve. But by the time you delve into it, I mean, something totally unrelated. I had a young man who kept having palpitations. And when we looked into it, unfortunately, he had been taking cannabis, which was adulterated with something else. And that was the cause of his palpitations. So I often say to people, go to your health professional. And if you can't get through to them, come and speak to us in Cannes. We have an advocacy service. We have a mental health unit. We have different things that can help you to, gain access to where you need to go to. Also, there's sleep disruption, the presence of a device that is there, the notifications keep pinging. Apart from the sleep, it's actually quite rude when you are in an official environment and your phone is pinging away. It disrupts. I was speaking to a young man who I called to come and do some work for me. And this is a true life story. And he kept going over to his phone, and eventually I didn't give him the job, because I just thought, you're not even concentrating on what I'm saying to you. You're too busy trying, and it's actually quite rude. You're on the phone doing stuff. I have patients coming in, the phone's pinging away. You have funny ringtones, wake up your mama, wake up your mama. You don't need all those distractions in the public place. You can do that in your own home. So that you can imagine all that happening while you're asleep, and how it can potentially disrupt your sleep-wake cycle. All right, let's move on quickly. So the question in terms of sleep is, how much sleep is too much sleep, or how much is too much? Or better still, how much screen time rather is too much? Because I've mentioned about sleep already, and it's different for everybody. Well, how much screen time is too much? Here are some pointers. As a general rule, all the papers suggest that more than 2 hours of screen time outside of work is considered to be excessive. Anything more than 2 hours outside of work. The reason why it's emphasizing outside of work is because nowadays, most of us are on the screens at work anyway. All right. So 2 hours outside of work for most people is considered too much. For you, it may be 1 hour. For some other person, it may be slightly more. But here are some pointers to when you begin to know that, screen time is getting way too much. Number one, if it disrupts sleep. If it begins to interrupt your sleep, then you know that you're doing it too much. If screen time is replacing physical activity, you gotta stay indoors and go out and walk, especially with young people and young children. They need to be active. They need to be going out and doing stuff. The patient of mine, that family friend even, the guy's indoors all the time, to the point that he became vitamin D deficient, because you get vitamin D from the sun and other places. So when these things, and he's on the computer all the time, like that. When it replaces physical activity, it becomes a bit of a problem. Number three, if it hinders face-to-face or social interaction, or even family time, or stops you from developing proper social skills. See, there's nothing like speaking to someone face-to-face. It's good to see people on the phone and all of that, but family time should be family time. And some of us have rules. At the dining table, everybody puts the phone away, or you don't even bring it to the dining table, so that we can talk and, speak to each other. unfortunately, if you begin to develop symptoms of poor esteem, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, social isolation, these are all linked to excessive screen time. A lot of our younger patients nowadays are coming with poor self-esteem. And the reason being is that they have looked on the internet and somebody has convinced them that they live better lives. And so they've convinced themselves that they are the poor version of themselves. And so they get into a rut of anxiety, depression, and other things. I'm not saying this is the only thing that causes it, but this is a major risk factor. It's unfortunate because many people now go on screens and you see people that have put well-curated pictures. I mean, they've taken like 10, 15,000 pictures and then they put the best one. You just woke up in the morning, took a picture and you expect it to be Instagram worthy. It doesn't work. Unless maybe you are, Beyonce or other people that go to bed with makeup, then, you can just wake up in the morning. I read somewhere that Beyonce wakes up in the morning and takes Instagram pictures. I don't know how true it is, but, if it's in the Daily Mail, it must be true. So also the Daily Mail says that all GPs are on the golf course, playing golf all the time and they don't see patients. So I don't know about that. Anyway, if it interrupts your work or school performance, then you know that, there's something going on. And this is very, very important for children under the age of 16. We have to, as parents or as guardians, you have to limit screen times. Otherwise, it will affect their school performance. Whichever method you use, there are many different apps now. In my household, my wife found an app at 7 p.m., all the internet or their devices go off automatically so that they have to now focus on their homework and focus on family interaction. Whatever works best for you, And one of my friends was telling me that his son was performing poorly. He was doing well initially, then began to perform poorly, took his phone off him. That one, he was quite, very African parent type, just took the phone off. He didn't even switch it off. I just took the phone off the boy completely. And the grades improved. So when it begins to affect schoolwork or school performance, or even as an adult, you're getting poor results at work, you're missing deadlines, it could be an issue. I told you about the workman who came to me and he was just like that, receiving notifications. It's terribly rude. It's terribly rude. If I'm in an Uber and the guy is on the phone all the time talking, go do your own phone call in your own time. I don't want to be hearing what's happening in your village in Pakistan and all of the rest. Anyway, that's just by the by. So how much is too much? Those are some of the general guidelines, and I'm sure people will have questions about that. All right. So how do we generally help with sleep hygiene? What are some of the basic things that we can do? This list is not exhaustive, but like I already alluded to, number one is to reduce our screen times or blue lights in bedrooms after 7 p.m. Your bedroom should be cleansed. You can have it in your living room, kitchen, wherever. When you go into your bedroom after 7 p.m., you either reduce or there is no blue light at all. Because what you're now telling your brain is that we are winding down, we are getting ready to go to bed. If your devices are still on, your brain is going to be stimulated and it's going to be thinking, you know what, I'm still awake, it's still daytime, let's go and do more stuff. That's the way we are wired. So begin to reduce blue light in the bedroom after that. For some of us who come, I don't get in until 7 p.m. anyway. So that's probably 9 p.m. for me because I don't go to bed until 11 every single day. So it works somehow 2-3 hours before you intend to go to bed, begin to reduce your screen time. Number two, it's important to limit screen use, like I said before, to 2 hours outside of work. I have reading glasses now. I never had, but I had in the last 2 years. And one of the things they've put on there is like a reflector. So it protects my eyes from the blue light, something that anybody who uses glasses should do. Number three, this is probably more difficult, but perhaps the most effective. Actively turn off social media completely when not in use. And, if we just turn it off, go completely off it, especially if you think you're getting addicted to it and it's getting too much. If it starts controlling your life, if I give talks about self-esteem and identity, and if you care so much about what people are saying online rather than what's happening in your real life, then you may have a problem. It's like how I don't watch Man United live because they want to give me a heart attack every single time they play. So we just wait for the highlights afterwards. And for the Arsenal fans, we're coming for you too. So also no screens or devices during family time. You should be boosting, personal interaction. You should be talking to people face to face. You should be interacting with people. You should be that you need to encourage that because now everybody's just on, we're just online. You need to be talking to real people. Last but not the least, early detection. If you wake up in the morning, I read this in the scientific, and I think it's very important. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is reach for social media on your phone, you might be addicted to it. That's just a quick way. If the first thing you are doing is reaching for, you've not even brushed your teeth, you've not said hello to anybody, if you're religious, you've not prayed or, not had breakfast, and the first thing you want to do is what's happening on my Instagram feed, unless you are doing cryptocurrency or something, you shouldn't be reaching for your phone that early in the morning. Anyway, that's sleep hygiene. So that is kind of like a nutshell of what we should be looking at in terms of how sleep affects us. I like to keep my talks to 20 minutes. I think I've done a little bit more than 20 today. But I talk for a living. I can talk for England, Scotland, and Wales. So thank you very much. Michael, over to you.
Yes, sorry. I just noticed that I had to unmute myself. Yes. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Joe. This is you've spoken on a lot of things that are quite obvious, but things that we may not have taken on board so well up until now. So thank you so very much. Now, what I'm getting from what you said is that sleep is important, and amount of sleep that anyone needs is an individual dose prescription. But however, if you find you're sleeping too much or for too long, then get it checked out, see your GP.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm very grateful. You give some very practical advice about how we can relate to, well, you talk about devices, yes, devices, and how we can use them optimally. So, blue light in the bedrooms, making a conscious effort to limit our screen use to 2 hours outside work. Now this is going to be hard, turning off social media. Hey, my brother. But anyway, turning off social media when not in use, no screens and family time, and the important one, everyone should check this. If you're reaching for your phone, social media first thing when you wake up, then there might be a problem. I've got to admit that and it's quite important that we're having this talk today because we need to put things in check. When we all started using mobile phones, and we thankfully are the generation who have lived before mobile phones and are living with mobile phones. When we first started, well, some of us used to bear some of these things in mind, that if you don't need your social media, you switch it off, you limit the times that you use your phone. You don't, in those days, we wouldn't actually answer our phone every time somebody called us. We tended to treat it like your analog phones, and you can return people's calls and things like that. But today, if you get a mobile phone call, it's almost like you're expected to answer it immediately, or there's something wrong. So, thank you very much for all of these things. Now, I've got a couple questions. Maybe you do know this, maybe you don't, but people talk about keeping your mobile phone too close at night. So charging your mobile phone, say within a meter of where you're sleeping. Do you have any thoughts on this? people talk about not doing that. So do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm not the expert on
Okay, I
the
thought so.
electrical aspect, but there's a lot of research to suggest that you shouldn't charge your mobile phones close to where you sleep because of the risk of fire. There is
Okay.
also the one that affects your heart or your, if you put it close to your chest, because these things emit tiny, tiny, tiny radio waves and things like that. So keeping it too close to you sometimes can eventually, but I don't think in the long run, because of I looked into it one time, and the amount of radio waves it emits is actually not strong enough to cause you any physical damage, in a short time, maybe over 100 years, maybe something like that. But in terms of charging it, you shouldn't be charging it too close to where you're actually sleeping because of the risk of fires. And that's the standard advice that you're given.
Okay. Okay. What about the advice that speaking on speaker mode is safer than having the phone to your ear?
There's no evidence of that.
Okay.
There's no strong evidence for that.
Okay.
It's a lot of conjecture, and there's a lot of conjecture around that, but there's no strong evidence to back that up. At least none that I have seen.
Okay. All right. The other thing, do you have any advice on, I suppose this would be not so prescriptive, but this would be, do you have any advice on general mobile phone etiquette?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, because there's a question in the chat that says, I actually wanted to speak to that. How do you manage the fear of missing out, FOMO, for the younger generation? How do you manage the fear of missing out now that almost everyone is a content creator? All right. So Michael, people our generation will not really understand FOMO. But knowing that some of us who are quite keyed in and connected to stuff, this is exactly what I wanted to speak to. The reason why a lot of times we reach for the mobile phone and get intoxicated with using the mobile phone is because we have been sold this idea that you're missing out on something, that you're lacking in something, that maybe if you don't check your mobile phone, you will have missed out on a good Instagram story. It's not true. As a matter of fact, all the research suggests that most of the time, when you overuse especially if you're not doing it correctly, I'll balance this up. I have a friend he's a leadership expert. He talks leadership like me. And he uses his mobile phone every day, 15 to 20 minutes, to improve his leadership skills. He's getting content, he's getting educated, he's done an MBA, he's learning on his mobile phone. Now, that is a totally different kettle of fish. I even have another friend who, there are apps that can teach you languages. And so 15, 20 minutes a day, they're learning languages. Now, you can do that and use it properly and learn from that. And actually, it's a positive. Now, when all you're just doing is mindless scrolling, they're looking at a cat that is jumping over a balloon, keeps jumping over a balloon. And then you're looking at how many of them can jump over the balloon, how fast can they jump over the balloon. Total waste of time. Because there's a lot of nonsense out there. And I'm not saying we should not watch this stuff. I'm just saying that you curate it, you limit it to a certain quantity and a certain time. I have I have friends who've said to me that they started off wanting to check something for 5 minutes and then they were there for 3-4 hours. So that is where the problem is. And unfortunately, especially with regards to sleep, it's now becoming a problem. Michael, there's this thing now where it's not yet concretized, but there's a hypothesis that maybe the reason why a lot more people are developing mental health problems, why? Because there's an upsurge, is probably because our brains are overstimulated. And one of the things that they've blamed for that is social media. Especially now, you and I may not have that problem. Somebody says I'm fat and ugly, I don't care. I've been insulted on the playground for many years. I've developed thicker skin than crocodile skin. But for the young people who are very, very aware and, it affects them a lot, social media is a bad thing, because there will be somebody who will be fat shaming somebody who will be saying you're too thin, somebody who will be saying you're not clever enough. somebody who is saying you're too black, somebody who's saying you're too fair, somebody who's saying you're too tall, somebody who's saying you're too short. And if you allow that to seep into your psyche, then it becomes an issue where it begins to affect our mental health. So there's this hypothesis now that maybe just that aspect alone of social media is one, and then obviously screen time is now contributing to an increase in the upsurge of mental health. It's one of those things to look out for. Maybe with more research, we'll get some more detail.
Thanks. Well, the drift of my question initially was slightly different. I was asking
Okay.
for advice on things like, for example, when you go into a meeting, switch your mobile phone off.
Yeah.
When you're driving, don't look at your mobile phone. When you're communicating on the mobile phone, always end up on a polite note. I was asking for that kind of
Etiquette along those lines.
yeah, along those lines. But
Ah.
let's move on because I think
Oh, we can delve into that very quickly because I mean, I think it's for me, I think it's just ethics. It's just simple ethics, you know. It's simply courtesy. If you're in a like I alluded to it already, if you're in a public place, if you go into a meeting, if you respect the people in that meeting, even when I speak to people who are my subordinates, I put my phone away. It's courtesy. And unfortunately, we are losing that now because there is this urge to answer every single text message, if I get you correctly, every single phone call and all of that. So let me tell you what I do. And it may not work for everybody, but there's a ringtone for my immediate family. My mom, my wife, my kids, they have a specific way in which it will ring and it will come through. Everybody else is on silent. Everybody else is on silent because unless the fire is burning, unless there's an earthquake in or Man United have started winning again, don't call me. You know, if you don't have an appointment, don't call me because I'm working. I'm not in the royal family. If it's during the day, now I'm saying that to an extreme. I'm just saying that there are ways in which you can manage these things and create. This is why I like to do things by appointment. And anybody who knows me knows that I have people here from Cannes who they work around the clock. They're very hardworking. Even if I don't respond immediately, I will call you back or text you back. So going back to answer your question, those text messages, 9 times out of 10, they are not life-threatening, if we all agree on that. They're not. I used to work as an emergency doctor, back in the day before I became a GP. I have seen life-threatening situations. And trust me, I've not received a phone call in the last 3 months that was particularly life-threatening.
Okay, let's delve into the questions from our colleague participants. Yes. Is it okay to fall asleep while watching something if that helps you to drift off?
Yeah.
Suddenly the blue light that you don't want is supposed to be what's helping you.
Let's just put it this way. It's not the best way to fall asleep.
It's not the best way to fall asleep.
It's not the best way to fall asleep.
Okay.
That you need to practice what is called sleep hygiene. So one thing you can do with that is rather than watching it, why don't you listen to it? I have an audiobook. I have an audiobook online. And there are some speakers there are some narrators, and when I listen to them, I will fall asleep because they have a very boring voice. And so I'm being honest with you. When I particularly want to fall asleep, I pick that audiobook and I start listening. I'm gone.
For shift workers or people who work late online, what can they do to improve their sleep quality despite screen use?
This is very, very important. Somebody else also my husband does only night shifts and struggles with sleep when he's off. What tips can you give him to help him sleep?
I think we can join
this question. This is a very, very important question. So he, more than most people, needs to practice discipline. So there's something called the circadian rhythm, because I tried not to get into this because of the technicality, but your question has brought this up. There's something called the circadian rhythm, or the biologic clock. Our body is wired in such a way that daytime you're awake and nighttime you're asleep. Your biological clock works like that. That's how it's supposed to work. I'm not talking about fertility clock, which is what a lot of people do when you talk about biologic clock. No, there's a circadian rhythm. Our brains work with that rhythm. Now, when you work a night shift, this is why almost everybody, and I'm sure this person should, if they're not, they should be. If you work the night shift, you should be given extra days off to catch up with sleep, because basically you are not operating in the normal way your body is supposed to be working. I remember back in the day when I did my training, if you were on 4 nights, you would get an additional 2 days or 3 days to get back into rhythm, if you like. And if you're not getting that, then you're putting your body at risk. So what tips can you do to make sure? Make sure you exercise properly, especially if you can. I remember as a young man or younger man, I'd finish my night shift and I'll go straight to the gym. People thought I was crazy, but I knew what I was doing. Finish my night shift, go straight to the gym, work out, take a shower, eat some breakfast, and I'll sleep. It helps you to be able to relax better. So basically, people who work night shift, you have to develop a system where you can now treat your daytime like night and your nighttime like day until you are able to reverse. That's why you're often giving some extra days to reverse that around, because your brain is now going to now be thinking nighttime is day, daytime is night, and you have to practice some hygiene things like exercising, eating right, etc. Certain types of food as well. So if you practice, sorry, Michael, if you you work at night, there are certain types of food you should try and stay away from. Try and stay away from heavy foods, eat more fruit and veg, things that your body can digest. Those things will help you to sleep better when you come to sleep.
Okay. Right, something slightly different. Does reading ebooks on tablets affect sleep the same way as scrolling social media?
100% yes. They all emit blue light.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay. Are there links between screen-related sleep problems and conditions like insomnia or sleep apnea?
So you've said 3 different things there. Screen time affecting sleep is one thing. It can be a cause of insomnia, but that's not the only cause of insomnia. So that's the second thing. Insomnia is a different entity on its own, which can be caused by different things, and I will explain it. Sleep apnea is a totally different condition. Let me start with sleep apnea. It's a more serious condition. Sleep apnea is a condition where your brain is deprived of oxygen at different times during the night, such that you wake up sometimes choking or gasping for breath. If you have obstructive sleep apnea, you need to see a doctor or a GP so that you can get referred to a sleep clinic, and you may need aids to help you with that. One of the key treatments for obstructive sleep apnea is actually weight loss, because when you have a lot of weight, especially around your neck, that's the distance from the breathing pipes are reduced when you lie down. That causes even more. So that's a totally different kettle of fish, which can cause you problems. It cannot. The way we view health problems is how is it affecting your day-to-day life. Obstructive sleep apnea can stop you from driving long distances. It can stop you from functioning during the day. So that is a slightly more serious condition. Not saying insomnia can be serious as well, but insomnia can be caused by lots of things. Insomnia can be caused by excessive screen time. Insomnia can be caused by depression and anxiety. Insomnia can be caused by PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Insomnia can be caused by bereavement, relationship breakdown. So there's a whole raft of things. Insomnia can be caused by certain drugs and medications. Beta blockers, for example, propranolol, the rest of them, they can cause insomnia. So we're looking at sort of 3 different categories of things. Insomnia is a broad term for poor sleep. I forgot to mention this, and I'm glad this person has mentioned. There are 2 major sleep things or sleep disorders, if you like, that are quite common, the most common ones. There is the inability to initiate sleep and the inability to perpetuate sleep. 2 different conditions, but 2 distinct sleep disorders. One of the things that screen time does is it delays your ability to initiate sleep. So it delays your ability to go to bed. But those are 2 distinct sleep disorders where some people struggle to initiate sleep. But once you sleep, that's it. Some people, they don't have a problem initiating sleep. The problem is perpetuating the sleep. So the treatments for those are also slightly different. That's why I said insomnia is a big umbrella. One of these days, perhaps we should talk about it if there's an appetite for it.
Okay, right. One short question, and then I'll come to you for a conclusion. But the lady who was talking about her husband not sleeping well, is back. It says the problem is that he's not able to sleep well during his off days, so he goes to social media. Yeah.
That is a trick question. I mean, at the end of the day, nights, to be honest, I don't know if you've had the experience, but I used to work night shifts. I haven't done it in several years now, but doing the night shifts can be gruesome. I stopped about 10 years ago, officially, maybe longer actually, but about 10 years ago, I just decided this is not for me. You have to do what you have to do to survive. Let's be honest. If it means going on social media, that's what you need. But like I said, because he's doing night shifts, his body's already flipped the script.
Yeah. I think
So
it might be
yes. So now you're telling your brain that daytime is nighttime, night. What he needs to do is to shut down properly. If he goes on social media and that helps him to relax, shut down, relax, and get ready for his night shift, then I would say that is a positive. But if he's going on social media and then he's going back to his night shift and he's not able to function properly on his night shift, then that is a problem.
okay.
That could be a problem.
Okay. My contribution was that it would be a matter for gradual retraining.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's another way of looking at it. Now, Dr. Joe, thank you very much. Now, we find ourselves in this situation that we are alive today, we have mobile phones, and we wish to function with productive, fulfilling lives. My question to you is four words. Four. What must we do? That's it. So if you can just conclude for us in giving us some advice on what we must do in relation to our devices and mobile phones so that we can optimize our quality of life and go on to live fulfilling, healthy, prosperous lives, we would all be very, very grateful.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. That's a really important question. So first of all, I think one of the reasons why we do these health talks is to shine the light back to our health and us looking after ourselves. So the first thing I would say is please pay attention to your health. All right. Pay attention to what you eat. Pay attention to how much sleep you're getting. Pay attention to your weight. The truth of the matter is that none of us is getting any younger. I don't care if you're 29. You're not always going to be 29. I used to be 29, even though my kids don't believe me. But I used to be 29 at one point. All right. They think I was always like this. So pay attention to your health. Whatever it is that you're doing, pay attention to your health. Make sure that you are the chief champion of yourself, of your health. So in terms of your physical health, in terms of your mental health, please pay attention. Go, if you're over 35 or even if you're over 30, go and get regular health checks. There doesn't have to be anything wrong with you for you to get a health check. There's something called a well-man's check. So go and get a health check. Make sure that your body is functioning properly. Number two, make sure you have a proper work-life balance. So in other words, there's nothing wrong with working hard. I like working hard and I like hardworking people. But anybody who knows me knows that I also play very hard. I have 4 to 6 hours in a week where I play tennis and other sports. It's like a religion now for me for the last 4 or 5 years. You work hard, you play hard. I have times when I take my children out, it's family time. It doesn't matter who else is looking for that time. It doesn't get work hard, play hard. Make sure you have downtimes and relaxation times. People begin to develop health problems, especially mental health, when you don't have a good work-life balance. That's what we are finding out. And, because there's worry for money, worry for promotion, worry for even your bills. Your bills can be a source of worry. So these things, there has to be a balance. I'll give this as an example. I met a 42-year-old lady. She was half Jamaican, half Nigerian. Now that's a really interesting combination. But she was half Jamaican, half Nigerian, and she was doing 3 jobs. 3 jobs. Now, how did I know? She came to me because her blood pressure was not well controlled. She was taking like some of my colleagues have tried. So I called her and said, look, we're not winning with this whole, medication thing. What's going on? So I normally we only have 10 minutes to consult. I spent 25 or 30 minutes with her. And then eventually she opened up. She had separated from her partner, long-term partner, and she's now a single mom of 3. And that was not the issue. Issue now was she wanted a certain lifestyle for herself and for her children. And she felt obligated, in using her own words, to maintain that lifestyle. And so she would have a regular job, she had a side hustle, and she had another extra side hustle. And I said to her, lady, you're only 42. To all intents and purposes, 42 is still very young. As far as the NHS is concerned, if you're not 65, you're not yet old. So, and that means I'm young too. So I said to her, you are gradually killing yourself. You're literally, because your blood pressure with 2 very powerful drugs is not controlled. And it was like a light bulb moment. She didn't look at it that way at all. She was too engrossed in trying to keep up with whatever she was competing with. And I said to her, look, there's something to be said for contentment. At some point, you have to, turn it down and say, you know what? Sarah has more money than me. Let's deal with it. That's the right. It's like Michael. I don't, you've got more money than me. There's nothing I can do about that.
I don't think so.
Like right now, Man United are not the best team in Manchester. It's sad, but that's just what it is. We have to live with it. Are we happy about it? No. But there has to be a place where you draw the line and say, we're not going any further with this. Because what we do is that we get so wrapped up, like I said earlier on, if it's not immigration, then it's money, then it's this. Now the new thing is COS, and people are trying to settle down. You know what? One of my mentors said something to me once that, God forbid, if you drop dead tomorrow, your immediate family will cry. Then the next thing that somebody else is going to ask is, where are the sausage sandwiches so that we can eat? That's the next question. Somebody's going to be like, where are the chips? They'll mourn you for like 5 minutes. And somebody said, make sure you pay attention to people who are going to cry at your grave. Not, if you drop dead, your employer tomorrow, they'll just employ somebody else. They'll just employ somebody else. There's loads of people that want to be employed. So if in terms of asking what should we do, we have to pay attention to our health. We have to pay attention to our mental health. We have to pay attention to these things that suck up our time and steal from us surreptitiously. Sorry, am I going out of time? Like I said, I talk for a living. We could be here till midnight, and I'll be okay.
You've got another minute or two. Yes.
Now, I'll let you because I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 questions.
Actually, nothing else to stand up. So
fantastic.
Yeah, nothing else to stand up. So we've got another couple of minutes, and then
that means I've stunned people into silence. That's good. But it's been an interesting conversation today, which I don't think it's for everybody. I think this is a very modern conversation to have, because generally people who are like over 40, over 45, we may not necessarily be that into our phones and social media and all of that. But for the younger people, and for some of us who are, tech savvy, this is really, it's something now that is creeping up on all of us.
I think the other thing, especially for Apple phone users, is that the phones actually give you analytics. Pay attention to
exactly.
that. And it tells you over the last week you used your phone for 3-4 hours.
Yes.
5 hours. So
Yes.
So that might be something to look at. And from a personal point of view, you can use that to set your own targets and live by them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not that I'm an advocate for Android, but Samsung has a similar feature because I have both. And it will tell you that your screen time is such and such, your screen time is such and such. You can use that and say, you know what, I'm doing too much screen time here, and you need to limit that. The one thing I want to emphasize is that you can do screen time as long as it's productive. If that screen time is bringing you money, if that screen time is helping your growth, your personal growth, because there's a lot to be done. My phone, for example, is like my personal digital assistant.
Yeah.
And it tells me where I'm supposed to be, what I'm doing, etc. I think this message may be more relevant for the 30s and under, especially for young children under the age of 16, who parents, if you're listening or you're listening later on, please limit the use of screens for your children. It's very important. There's a lot of research now that children under the age of 1 year are being overstimulated by screens under the age of 1. And then you turn around and say the person has ADHD. No, you've overstimulated them.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll stop there before I start saying stuff.
Dr. Joe Omofuna, our brother and our mentor and our leader. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Always.
Sharing with us this morning. I think if we were all allowed to show our appreciation by in the usual way, we would all be clapping, except we're all muted. So it's anyway, please let's clap for Joe. And at this stage, I want to hand over to Adebimpe with a few messages from Khan. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Spread the word, spread the message. And the more of these talks we have, the more interaction, the more fellowship we have in this manner, I think the better it is for all of us, health-wise, mental health-wise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, still good morning from here. I'm Adebimpe and I'm one of the team members. Thank you again for joining us today. I just want to say a special thank you to Dr. Joe for a wonderful session. I've taken lots of notes myself and I will be putting them into practice, as well as Dr. Michael as well. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. So I'm just gonna share our screen on what to expect from us next. And also I just wanted to say to parents on this platform today, we can also advise that you can also watch this video with them later on, or just to make sure your kids, your younger adults and teenagers can watch this and learn for themselves. So just gonna start sharing my screen just to share what we have planned for the next few upcoming month and week. Okay, so so thank you again. We hope you'll be joining us next week again for another session for Health Hour, where we'll be having one of our amazing doctors as well, who will be talking us through another topic we are here to have. But if you're already signed up to our mailing list, you should be able to get the topic in your emails, maybe coming by Monday, so you can come get yourself educated and empowered, not just for yourself, but for your family and to your friends as well. So join us again next time, which is next Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And if you have anything you would like us to discuss as well, this is our email. You can always email us and use the QR code to scan for our next event. And also, we are still in the Black History Month, October, and thanks to everyone that joined us for Can Gala last week as well. It was amazing. It was great to see different leaders in the community. Getting a word and getting to the network as well. So there are still other events happening around Greater Manchester. So please use the QR code to sign up and look at the events happening in various areas in Manchester. Also, the pink party is happening next week, Saturday, and we're looking forward to seeing so amazing women and, men as well. You're welcome, get to learn from women what they do and how they can take care of themselves. It's breast awareness party. You can also help your wives, to know how to measure, how to search themselves for cancer awareness. So everyone is welcome. Is taking place, as you can see on the screen, Galton Shaw Center at Galton. So we'll look forward to welcoming you. Every children from the age of 17 plus are welcome, as long as they are accompanied by an adult. So, and if you like to contact as well, you've got Sekinat at can.org.uk will be your contact where you can send an email just to make inquiry, or if you want to be part of it, also please do send an email as well. And as it says, the dress code is pink. Dress pink, come welcome, looking all glammed for the day. Okay. Also, we're talking about Man Up. This is more about men empowerment barrier that men faces within the community as well. Not just a Black man, but everyone is welcome, both young and old. So come and let's come together, especially for the men. And I also advise, if you're a mom as well, parents, women, you can also go there and potentially learn on how to help your young adults, male that might be going through one or two things that you want to leverage on, information that you can leverage on that you can help them understand. So it's online, you don't need to leave the comfort of your home. Just log in, sign, and send us an email at dvsa@can.org.uk, and all questions that you may have ready before the day, you can send it to us, and also on the day as well. So let us know, you can sign up with us and we'll take it from there. Also, let's talk about health for women. This is a continuous initiative that we are still doing within CAN. So, and another contact, so same contact is Sekinat at can.org.uk, and this is for women, and you get reimbursed for your time as well. So this is just a health check, free workshop that everyone gets to come in. You have specialists on the day, and we're going to have GPs, we'll be coming to speak about more on gynecological. So just come in and send an email to Sekinet. We'll be able to guide you through one or two things. And also we've got a QR code on here where you can sign up to be part of the workshop. And if you have any question or anything you would like to discuss, also she will be your best contact. And also our Green and Heart also taking place every Wednesday and Tuesday, Wednesday at Bolton, as well as at Stockport. So you're all welcome. The times are different. So if you live around Bolton if you live in Bolton around Bolton, please join us for Green and Heart. Is a well-being session. This is an opportunity to stay away from your phone. You get to interact with people with it for 2 hours. So, just get yourself empowered, get to do some artwork. So this is another great time for people to, reduce that screen time. So why not just join us on those days as well and in Stockport? And if you live in Manchester, around Stockport as well, you're also welcome. Our team member Lola, who's handling this project, will be happy to welcome you on the day. And if you have any question or anything you would like to contribute to before the day, please do send out an email there. Also, as you can see on the screen, green and heart wellbeing at can.org.uk. And also our BE in Healthfeed in London is still going on. So if you need any more information or you would like to be part of it as well, this is where you get to learn more about what we related to more Black health. Everyone is welcome. You can share this with your with your network as well, just to get more information about Black health and how we can talk to each other and how you can listen and understand the Black people in the community and how we communicate and how there might be some biases within the health sector. But then again, the contacts you can email or again use the QR code to get more information about this initiative. Well, that's it from me, and we look forward to having you next week again, same time on Health Hour. Once again, my name is Adebingpe, and we look forward to having you next week.
And that's our time for today. Whether you joined us on Zoom, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, thank you for making the Health Hour part of your Saturday. We hope today's session gave you the right dose of health wisdom that you can share with your friends and family. When we share knowledge, we strengthen our entire community. Mark your calendar. next Saturday, same time. Got a topic in mind? We want to hear from you at health@can.org.uk. Health Hour, hosted by the Caribbean and African Health Network.